Welcome to Radford University. This is the Graduate College's virtual information session for prospective international students. My name is Penny Brooks. I work at the Graduate College at Radford University. I am a graduate recruitment and retention specialist, and we are very excited to have you participate in our virtual information session, whether you're live in person or you're watching our recording that will be on YouTube. I'm first going to explain the features of our virtual space in case any of our presenters would like to interact. You will see to the far right of the screen, we have a list of our hosts, but all of the participants who are participating as they come and go. Down in the bottom central, trying to see if I point in the right direction, there it is, central portion of our screen is our chat function. And I'd like to invite all of our participants, if you have any questions that come up while you're listening to the discussion, please feel free to enter in a question and I will monitor those and point them to the right person to answer the question. Also, you will see at the bottom left-hand portion of our screen, we already have some notes that you might want to take. The first three are the email addresses of our presenters today. In case you would like to get in touch with us in the future, you are certainly welcome to send us an email. Mine is Penny Brooks. I'm with Graduate College, the recruitment section, and my email is pbrooks9@radford.edu. Our main web page for Radford University is pretty easy. It's just radford.edu. And if you're ever looking for anything on the page, there is a very large search function at the top of all of our web pages. You can search very easily for whatever you might want to find. If you're looking for information about the Graduate College admissions, I've bit.ly'd the web pages because they're very long. You will find the web link down below. And also, if you're interested in getting some more information about the International Education Center, that web page has been bit.ly'd and the link is down below as well. I'm now going to introduce all of the presenters that we have today. The first person I'd like to introduce is Teresa King. She's with our International Education Center. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, how long have you been at Radford, and tell us a little bit about the work you do over there.
Okay. As Penny said, I'm Teresa King, Assistant Director in the International Education Center. I have been here for quite a long time, mostly working with international students. It will be 30 years in October, actually, which makes me feel old, but very blessed from working with international students through the time. So I am the International Student Advisor, also the Immigration Advisor, so I handle all of the I-20s for those of you who may be coming on an F1 visa, or DS 2019s for those that would be J1 exchanges, which is probably not at the graduate level. Nice to see you all here today. Thank you for joining us.
The next presenter I'm going to introduce you is Michelle Ralston. She works in the Graduate College with me, and she's responsible for our graduate assistantships. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Michelle, how long have you been at Radford, and tell us about the variety of things that you do.
I have been at Radford for almost 5 years, so December will be my anniversary. So prior to that, it was 17 years of banking, and what I do now for the graduate assistantships is handle their money, whether it be their stipends or tuition that they receive. I work in conjunction with those students, with their supervisors, with their programs, with Teresa, on helping out students receive, whether it's to receive the assistantship or to put them on a path to getting an assistantship, or they have been chosen for an assistantship and then getting it on to them. And all
it is very good to have you here today. Awesome. We also have an actual international graduate student from Radford University here with us today. That is Iman Amir, and she is to my left. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and the program that you participated in here at Radford.
So my name is Iman Amir from Jordan, and I'm international graduate student, major in strategic communication. and I will graduate this semester.
So if you're almost done, are you excited to be nearly graduated?
Well, to be honest with you, yes and no. Yes, because I need to figure out other things in my life, but at the same time, I love Radford, and I don't want to leave Radford.
Radford is
yes
a pretty
and
good
no.
place to live. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, I want to remind all of our participants, we do have an open chat function. If at any time you have a question you'd like to ask, please feel free. You can enter your question in the blank below in our chat box, and I will monitor those, and we'll get all of your questions answered. So thank you to all of our participants who are here with us today, and just feel free to jump in if you have a question at any time. The first thing I think we'd like to jump into is, I think a lot of international students, if you're considering coming to the United States, and in particular to Radford University, you might wonder, how many international students do we have, and am I going to be the only one? Hey, Teresa, do we have a sizable population of international students here?
We have a growing population of international students, and we'd like to grow it even more. We're just shy by one of 100 international students.
Oh, wow.
We'd certainly like to grow that. We had 99 in the fall semester, and it's a very diverse group of students coming from 35 different countries. So there's a chance that you would have someone here from your country as well.
But we do have students from all the major continents, from Europe, from Asia, from South America, from Africa, maybe not your country, but definitely from your region, I would expect.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to intervene a little bit here and let folks know, if you have any particular questions about a graduate program here at Radford, all of that information is available at our website, and as I mentioned below, it's at radford.edu. You can pretty easily search our webpage using that search function that's at the top of every web page. You will see blocks on our webpage that will take you to either admissions information or program information, academic information, and there are drop-down menus that will take you to the graduate sections every time. If you're looking for curricula, the actual courses you will be taking with a particular program, all of our programs list the curricula. So if you're curious about the courses you'll be taking, you can either find it on our webpage, but also each one of our graduate programs has a program coordinator, and their information is listed on each program's webpage as well. It's pretty easy to find their contact information. But if you have difficulty, you can always email me, and I will help you get in touch with them. Probably at this point, I will mention that Radford has both on-campus, in-person programs and online programs. And this is where I have a first question for Teresa, because I think we have a lot of international students who think, wow, an online program, that sounds awesome. But we've already kind of hit a challenge, haven't we?
Correct. Immigration always presents challenges and opportunities, however, for you to get here. So online programs are perfectly fine for international students to take as long as they're outside of the country. If you're in the U.S. on an F1 visa, of course, it would need to be predominantly in-class courses here on their campus. International students on F1 or J1 are allowed to take one class or 3 credits per semester towards their full-time enrollment. For graduate students, typically the full-time enrollment is 9 credits. So you could essentially take 3 of those credits in an online class, as long as the other 2 are in classroom. If you were taking 12 credits, for example, as a graduate student, you could take 2 classes online instead of in the classroom. But there are restrictions, very tight restrictions for immigration regulatory purposes.
So if you do go to our web pages and you see a program is offered both online and in person, you probably would like to talk to one of our admissions counselors or Ms. King about how you might make that work or what your best option would be. And I do have a question from Annabelle. And Annabelle, you are thinking right, because I was just about to go to this point in our conversation. So thank you so much. She wants to know how long in advance a student will have to begin the application procedure. And that's a great question, because a lot of our deadlines are in what we would call the spring semester months, January, February, March, April. We do have one program, our Doctorate of Physical Therapy program. Its deadline is in October. So that's a little different. But if one of my deadlines for the program I'm interested in is in the spring, Teresa, how soon in advance do I really need to start working on my application if I'm an international student?
So I was just going to that webpage to find out that answer. For fall semester, the application deadline is stated as April the 1st. For spring semester, it is October 15th. There may be a little wiggle room there, a little opportunity to go outside of that box, but certainly you would want to have applied by April 1st for fall semester, particularly if you're out of the country at this time. For anyone who may be in country on an F1 visa, perhaps finishing up your bachelor's degree at another school and transitioning to the graduate program at Radford, there is a bit more flexibility. Because you don't have to apply for a visa again and those types of things.
Now, I will let folks know that that main deadline is for the main graduate application and international documents. Some of our programs have earlier deadlines, and you want to make sure your application is in before your program's deadline, absolutely. For example, I believe our social work, if you're interested in our Master of Social Work program, I believe the deadlines can be in either January or February. So you want to go on our webpage to your particular program of interests page, and you will find all of the details you need, including the application deadlines. But even if a program has rolling admission, which means they accept most applications at any time, if you want to be an international student, you definitely want to follow those deadlines that Teresa just mentioned. And it's because they have so much extra paperwork, don't they, Teresa?
Correct, correct. And it does take some time for visa processing for I-20s to be, shipped to you as well. So it does require a bit of extra time.
Is there any way I can figure out how much my tuition and costs would be in advance so I can know if this is even a financial feasibility for me?
There is online on the International Graduate Student Application page, there is some information about the financial information. I'm looking here to see under required immigration documents on that page. It has just been updated, so I can tell you that the total amount estimated currently for 2018-2019 school year is $37,275. But please keep in mind this is not what you pay directly to Radford. This is an overall amount estimate of total expenses, including books and room and board and health insurance, personal expenses. For tuition, the tuition for a graduate student starting fall semester, we have estimated at $10,596. That is for 12 credits instead of 9, so it's given a little bit of additional space there, funding-wise. But the financial documents that you would be required to submit would be $37,275. That said, those of you who have already applied for fall, and I know there are at least 2 or maybe 3 on here that have applied for fall currently, we can also honor the previous amount, which was $36. So get those financial documents in if you've applied for fall and haven't yet submitted that.
And that's important to know. We're not going to jump right to the financial information right now, but basically one thing to acknowledge is that with the United States, if you're an international student, you do not have access to federal or state financial aid. And so it's important to know what our tuition looks like, because you will have to be able to provide proof that you can handle that sort of financial burden with the tuition. Is that right, Teresa?
That's correct. And that's an immigration requirement. You'll have to present that when you apply for your visa as well.
We do have a question from Andrea. Thank you so much. We might as well just go ahead and answer this question now. She has a J1 visa at the moment, but she will soon have to go back to Ecuador, which is her home country, in July. Is it better to change her visa here or back in her home country?
It is definitely better to change your visa in your home country. It is the same process that you went through for your J1 visa, essentially. Changing the visa in your home country is certainly much quicker than trying to do it in the U.S., and particularly when you're changing from J1 to F1. The processing to apply for a change of visa status in the U.S. takes almost a year. So definitely do it while you're home in Ecuador.
Let's jump back a little bit. If folks are at the point where, okay, they've looked at the expenses, they're like, okay, I could handle this. And they find a program here at Radford that really would suit their future needs. They need to consider a lot of things that have to do with their application. One of them is all of our programs require all of your official transcripts, which would include information about all of the prior universities or four-year colleges that you have attended previously, all of them, and that you will need to have translation services handle your transcripts in some cases. Is that right, Teresa?
Correct. The requirement through the graduate college is translated services, so you can use agencies such as WES, and I believe there are a couple of other agencies that are accepted.
You also have to be able to prove proficiency of English through the TOEFL exam. And can you tell us a little bit about the scores that you might need to be considered here at Radford?
Yes, for graduate student TOEFL exams, it's 550 for the old one that's probably not even administered anymore, 213, but the one most of you would take would be the computer TOEFL exam, and that score is 79 to 80. Or we also accept the IELTS, the IELTS test, and the score required on that is 6.5 or higher.
If someone takes the exam, how long does it usually take to get the results and then have them shipped to us?
That is a really good question that I'm not sure I know the answer to, honestly, but my understanding is once you take the test, the testing center itself sends the information to the schools that you have applied to, and I believe the window is 2 to 4 weeks. Does that sound correct?
I think most of us are like, I think so. So you might want to check our webpage to verify it, but I believe that is probably true. A lot of our programs are going to require either the GRE or our business program, the GMAT test, so you'll know that you're going to need probably to take one of those exams depending upon the program that you're interested in. A lot of our programs require letters of recommendation. And Teresa, do you know if you need to get your letters translated as well, or how that might work?
The letters, essentially anything that goes to the graduate college, I believe, needs to be translated, including the transcripts. So the letters would need to be as well. I just want to point out while we're right here that
Sure.
Andrea just told me that it takes 10 business days for the TOEFL scores to come to the school. Thanks,
you're on top of it. Thank you so much. And I have a question from Annabelle. Do we also need to have the GRE for the doctorate in psychology program? I will look that up really quickly while I ask another question. A lot of countries will have agencies or paid agents that will say they will provide services that will help you gather all your documents, help you apply for a graduate school in the United States. Teresa, do you all recommend people work with a paid agent or an agency?
There's really no recommendation. It is certainly an option. We do have a couple of agents that we are currently working with as a new venture for international recruitment. But having your application come through an agent has no bearing whatsoever on the decision for admission or the processing time or anything of that nature. And it's all online, so it's something you could easily do on your own as well.
All right.
I can also share something about this issue. Like,
Sure. Go right ahead, Iman. I was about to ask you about your process of filling out all the paperwork and how you managed to make it happen.
So for me, I heard about those agencies where they help you to apply or to fill your application. I personally don't recommend those companies because they charge you a lot of money. So you need to be sure which kind of company you are contacting. So like when I came here, like I was supposed to pay around $20,000, but for those companies, some of them, they say they will help you, but you need to pay around like $50,000 or $60,000. They will tell you that we will help you to find a housing, but they don't choose the best housing that fits your needs. So I personally not recommend not to work with those agencies unless you trust them or you know who they are.
I think that's good advice. It's basically a buyer beware kind of a situation. You can use them to help, but it's good to get like a reference or work with somebody that you know or somebody that you know if they know of this agency. Get a good review on it. Because you're right, not every agency is going to have your best interest at heart. Some of them just want to make money. And I did find an answer for Annabelle. Do you need to have the GRE for the doctorate in psychology program? The answer is yes. Probably they would expect that you would have taken it to get into your master's program, but they still require official scores from the GRE general test, and it must have been taken within the past 5 years. So if you took the GRE like 10 years ago and you finished your master's program at least 5 years ago, but now you're considering getting your PsyD, you might have to take the GRE again. The test scores are only good for 5 years for applying to that program. So thank you so much for asking that question. I do urge other folks to go ahead and ask us a question in the chat below. So we've just talked about whether or not to get a paid agent. The answer is you can, but you want to be careful about who you do hire if you do use one. What kind of identification will you need as part of your application, Teresa?
The identification needed with your application is a copy of your passport, and if you are in country, the visa that you're currently on as well.
Awesome. So let's say you've gotten all your paperwork in, you looked at the deadlines, you turned everything in properly, and Radford University looked at all of your materials and said, you're awesome, we've accepted you. After you're accepted, how does the visa process work?
So the visa process, well, let me back up.
Okay.
Once you're admitted academically for the graduate program, I received the package of information, your admissions documents from the graduate college, and I would issue an I-20 for you to apply for the F1 visa. I ship those typically by UPS so that it gets to you quickly. Using that I-20, the first thing you would do is pay the what's called I-901 SEVIS fee. It is an online process, and you will receive information about it in your admissions package. We will have a pre-arrival guide that helps walk you through the entire visa process as well as this payment. The 901 fee payment is $200. As I said, it's done online. That provides you with a receipt number, which is needed for you to apply for a visa interview with your embassy.
So I think Andrea, we just answered the question. You need to have $200 to be able to obtain, or is that how much to obtain your visa, or how much, is it part of the financial documentation that you need to show? Because we're getting to that point.
It is not part of the financial documentation that is done on the front end. The financial information only shows what you will need once you're in the country, or estimates what you would need once you're in country on that F1 visa.
And what kind of documentation are we talking about? How would you prove your financial ability, basically?
So when you're applying for the visa and when you're applying to Radford, financial documents are required for the application process. And Those documents are an official bank statement that is signed by the bank of an account holder. It can be you, it can be a parent, it can be aunt, uncle, or a combination of those. You can actually submit more than one bank document if needed. So the bank document is the first thing. The second piece is a letter of support from the account holder. So, for instance, if your parents are helping you pay for your college degree, the bank statement would be from your parents, and they would just write a very simple letter of support saying they will support you up to X amount of dollars for your graduate study program. You would use the same information both for your application to Radford and for your visa application.
Andrea has just asked, do these documents have to be translated as well? And I'm assuming the answer is probably yes.
Typically it does. The bank statement is more difficult for you to receive in English, and we realize that. So we do accept bank statements as long as the letter of support is in English, and we can figure that out. The bank statements can be not translated, and what we do is do the currency conversion through any various number of converters that's out there on the web.
So let's say I provide all of my financial documentation. I can prove that I have money for my room and board and for all of my tuition and my books. But once I arrive here at Radford, I might need some extra cash. I'm going to need some extra money. What kinds of financial aid are available to international students?
Okay. Graduate assistantships, that would be Michelle, that would help you through those. Those are certainly possibilities, and I will come back to you, Michelle, so we can transition to you for a little bit. There is on the financial aid website of Radford actually a international student link that shows you a few other outside opportunities for financial aid. You can always Google financial support for international student studying in the U.S., and there's a large list that comes up with that. Of course, those are outside agencies, private agencies, so you want to be careful with those, but also look at all the opportunities that are out there for you.
If I think I'm just going to come here after I get accepted and I'm going to find a couple of part-time jobs off of campus, am I thinking correctly, or is that going to be a problem?
Unfortunately not. Again, immigration has all those wonderful regulations. You are allowed to work on campus up to 20 hours per week, but only on campus. You're not allowed on an F1 visa to work off campus at all during your studies. I mean, there's a couple of possibilities later on in your studies, but for that first year, you're restricted totally to on-campus employment.
So this is how we jump to Michelle. She is our expert in all things graduate assistantship. So apparently we can only get a job if it's on campus, and one of those ways to get a job on campus is to get a graduate assistantship. What are the various types of assistantships that an international student might be eligible for?
Our international students are eligible for, specifically as a first-year student, for GA or GTA. The GA is the assistantship that is stipend only, and currently that is anywhere from $2,250 to $4,500 per semester. That would be a total for the academic year for fall and spring, $4,500 for a part-time GA and $9,000 for a full-time GA. Now we also have the availability for international students that, if they're chosen by their program, that they could have what we call a GTA, or Graduate Teaching Assistantship. And those are first-year students that would be assisting other professors with the class. They would not be teaching a class, they would not be teaching a lab, they may be helping with a lab or helping to teach the course. Now, you can go from the GTA or even a GA into your second year as a GTF and that is a graduate teaching fellow. And those students are responsible for, and are professors of record for 2 courses. You have to have a certain amount of graduate credits in the field that you're going to be teaching. And I actually just see a question here for Andrea. Are there any GTA positions for special education? Unfortunately, our education program only has GA, and that's because of the makeup of their program. They're already going out and teaching as part of the program. So it's kind of hard for them to do both. And our GTAs teach here, whereas most of our special education are going to go out into the different school systems to teach. So those are not necessarily available. And I did want to bring that up. We don't always have GTAs for every program. And I'm going to say, like, our occupational therapy does not have GTAs or GTFs. They're only GAs, but they have a large number of GAs, so the availability is there. And our GTAs do make $500 more per semester, just kind of a little. And they also, and here's the kicker, for the GTAs, they receive tuition. Right now, that's currently 9 credits of in-state tuition. And notice I said in-state. So that's going to cover the in-state portion. So you would still be responsible for the portion between the in-state and out-of-state, unless you have an out-of-state waiver. And a few of the programs do have out-of-state waivers. And that would, if you're taking 9 credits, that's going to, you're like, okay, well, I'm getting the in-state waiver, I'm getting the in-state, so I shouldn't be paying anything. Well, not necessarily. Each program has different fees and costs, but every person that is out of state, and most of our international students would still be considered out-of-state students, they still have to pay what is currently a $19 per credit hour fee. So you're looking at, what is that, $117 for 9 credits.
So it sounds like things are very program specific. It depends on the particular program you're going to be in, whether or not you might be eligible for a teaching assistantship or a teaching fellowship or a regular assistantship, or whether they have, or the way that they select even people.
Right. What I recommend, I mean, I certainly want people to, contact me if they have any questions, because I can typically point them in the right direction to the person that they need to see or talk to or email. And for fall and spring assistantships, you really need to contact the program coordinator or even the person that you have been in close contact with about your admissions, your application from the program, because the program coordinator is the person who's going to choose those students and those GAs or GTAs. And I don't encourage someone to email somebody 10 times a day, but definitely email them, give them a call, give them a week.
Let them know you're interested.
And call them back. Yeah, let them know you're interested. Don't just send in the application for an assistantship to the website. Do that and contact them. Make sure that they're aware that you want those. Now, if upon talking to them, this is where Teresa and I start working together, if upon contacting them they tell you, hey, we're going to give you an assistantship, make sure that they have contacted me so that I can get you out your agreement that states this is how much you're going to be paid, because that goes into all of the paperwork that Teresa does for you for your I-20. And if I haven't been contacted, but you tell Teresa I've been given a GA, I don't have anything to say yes, and then Teresa doesn't have anything to verify. It's just like those bank statements. There's no verification that the money's coming. So,
Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, well, I was just going to answer Andrea's question about an out-of-state waiver. Ask. Ask the program when you are given the assistantship and they don't tell you right off the bat, hey, I'm giving you an out-of-state waiver as well. Ask. They should know as an international student that you're going to be out of state, obviously. It doesn't hurt to ask. And they may have to ask me.
Just know there is a limited number, right?
Yes.
It's not everybody is going to be getting one.
No. No, they're very limited, and we keep getting even more constrained as the years go on this. We're trying to get them to loosen it up, but it never hurts to ask.
And honestly, that is, if there's a takeaway from this whole session today, it is always ask us. That's why our emails are down below. If you have any questions, or if there's something you might need as part of your package to be able to come to Radford, it doesn't hurt to ask. Either the program coordinator or us, we can help you get in touch with whoever you might need to put that ask through to. And I feel like we've been neglecting poor Iman over here. Let's get your perspective. Iman, did you have a graduate assistantship while you were here at Radford?
Oh, yes.
Tell us about it.
Now I'm like graduate research fellow. So basically, I'm working with 1 or 2 professors, and I'm helping them most of the time with their research. So, for example, I'm interested in media, then the department will connect me with someone who works in that field, and we meet the professors and we talk about the research and we start working together on that research.
Okay, I hate to say this, but whoever is typing, you're kind of noisy, and so if we could either quietly type, because we couldn't hear Iman for a minute there. Iman, while I've got you here and while we're chatting, tell us about your experiences as an international student here at Radford. Did you find our community welcoming?
Well, I don't have any words, honestly, to describe my experience here at Radford. And again, in the beginning of the session, you asked me whether I'm excited to graduate or not, and I said yes and no, because I love this. First of all, I love Radford University, and I love Radford community. So, like for me as international student, and before I come to this country, I had a lot of misconceptions about many things. I don't have anything right now in my mind, but when I start communicating with people here, I really changed all of those misconceptions. So, like, first of all, like the Radford University is a great place where you can come and communicate with people. As a student, we have many clubs where you can like join any of those clubs and like work with other students. For me, for the first year, I didn't really communicate that much because, you know, I was saying I'm a graduate student and I don't need to communicate. However, in the second year, I said, no, I need to meet more people. And guess what? I like it so much. So right now, I'm vice president for Graduate Student Club. And like I'm trying to balance between my academic work as well as like the other activities. So
didn't you and your friends create kind of an organization of students from your region? Is that correct?
Yeah. So for us, like as Muslims, we have a Muslim Student Association. So we will have Muslim people from different countries but also our organization welcome non-Muslims as well. So we communicate, we sit together, we participate, we help community, because this is also part of our belief to give back. And again, I love this area so much. I love the Radford community. They are very, very nice. Like, there are many cases where, like, especially when I'm in the bus, and like some people, when they look at me, and they are surprised because of the way that I wear my hijab, and they are very, very nice. And they ask me questions like where I'm from, whether I like this area, and many people, like some of them invited me either to their homes or like at the restaurant, and we had like lunch or dinner, and I really enjoyed it. Also, I need to point out that International Education Center is doing a great job. So we have many activities through International Education Center. They connect us with other retired professors who are interested to work with international students. So International Education Center, for on I think 2016, we had like a dinner, and we had many people, and those people, like, when at the first time they saw me, we had this lovely conversation, and we became like not just only friends, but I would call them my American parents. So they started to taking care of me. If I want to go to shopping, they pick me and I go and do my shopping. So again, I don't have any words to describe my experience here. I love Radford, and I love Radford community.
Well, we were awfully happy to have you here at Radford.
Thank you so much.
I mean, it's kind of funny how we all know Iman, because it's kind of funny you say in your first year that you were very busy and you kept your head down, but all four of us, I think, have met you on campus at one time or another, and it's very easy, I think, to get to know the faculty and the staff and the other students at Radford University. Some universities are very large, and Radford, I think, is a good size because you really get to know a lot of people here. Before I jump back to Michelle and talk more about graduate assistantships, I do want to ask, you mentioned that you had some misconceptions about what it would be like living in the United States. What were some of the misconceptions you had?
You know, it's not like an issue in my belief, but, you know, we get some information from the movies that we see or watch on TV. So, for example, like people drink all the time, things like this. So, and, you know, for people who are allowed to drink, they may think, okay, I'm gonna go to America and I'm going to drink day and night. However, this is not true. When you come to this country, there's sort of laws. For example, if you are under 21 years old, you are not allowed to drink. Also, we have some restrictions here at Radford University. You couldn't drink at Radford University. So, yeah, one of those, like this one of the conceptions that really I changed it about the U.S. because. And again, for me, it's not that big issue because I'm not allowed to drink anywhere. But I'm saying for the people who can drink, they may think, well, I'm going to come to the US and I will drink day and night. This is not true. You couldn't drink day and night. You should be aware of this issue.
You're right. If you've mostly gotten to know the United States through our movies, especially movies about teenagers and young people in college life, you would think that we're just a bunch of party animals all the time.
Yeah.
And I will say there's a little bit of partying that happens at Radford University, but it's not as crazy and Animal House-like as you might expect.
I agree.
Thank you. I'm going to jump back to Michelle and finish up our conversation a little bit about assistantships. So let's say I'm an accepted student, but I didn't hear from any of my programs that I received a program-specific assistantship. Am I completely lost at this point, or are there other ways I might be able to earn an assistantship?
You aren't completely lost. You're good. You may not get an assistantship, but the best thing and what I try to get students to do is, whether they have been given an assistantship or not, is to go onto the website under the graduate college, go under student forms, and about midway down is a PDF of graduate assistant. That, is that me?
I think it might be.
Okay, I'm going to keep on going.
Okay.
But once you get about midway down and fill out the application, it'll tell you to forward the application and your most current resume to RU Grad resume, and that email address is actually forwarded straight to me. And what I'll do with that is, once everyone has made their decision, once the program has made their decisions for all of their GAs and various assistantships for the fall, spring year, I will take out all of the people that have been chosen, but also send in the applications. And those that are remaining, I will take those and put those into a pool, because as Teresa knows from time to time, all those people that were given assistantships get placed, but there's still somebody that needs to be placed in office. And typically what happens with that is, we have some programs that, for one reason or another, don't fill all of their allocated assistantships. And those assistantships are typically the ones that are placed outside of their program. They're called external assistantships. And those assistantships go to the grad college, international education, the different advising centers for the different colleges around within Radford, the library, and career services. I'm trying to think of the other offices.
And they tend to do like administrative tasks or other work.
Most of those are administrative type duties, whether it's now with the advising centers, you can get into advising from time to time. Student, I mean, it's going to be with help from others. But anyway, they'll get that pool of students that weren't given. They'll get those resumes, they'll filter through those resumes and pick someone from there. Now, we can have as few as 3 openings and as many as 10. I've seen as many as 10 in some years. But we could also have a pool of 20 to 25. So, but you still have, if you never put your application in, you never put your resume in, then you don't have a chance. At least you have a fighting chance that way.
So you might as well apply and see what happens.
Might as well apply. It never hurts.
Okay. So we've gotten accepted. We've talked about the visa process, financial issues. Probably need Teresa to jump onto health insurance, because students will need health insurance. Michelle, I'm not sure if that's you. It sounds like you have a sea monster in your office. I'm not sure if we need to shut off your microphone for a sec or what, but we'll figure that out. So Teresa, what do people need to know about having health insurance?
Health insurance is a requirement, but before I go there, I want to get to Andrea's questions, because she's had a couple that we haven't gotten back to. One is on the bank statements.
Right.
Just for a second, I'll go back to that. You absolutely can use 2 bank statements or 3 or 4. There's really no limit. So you can submit as many bank statements as needed, as long as each of those also has a letter of support. I did not mention, if the account happens to be in your name, we do not need a letter of support for that. And then, Andrea, your other question was about sending your I-20 to Ecuador. Absolutely. I send I-20s out of the country all the time, and I actually use UPS typically, unless it's very early. But at this point of the year, I would send them UPS and would email the student the UPS tracking number so that you know it's on the way. So that took care of those two questions.
And Michelle, if you don't mind turning your microphone back on, Andrea has one more. If I'm in one program, can I get a GTA in another program? Does that ever happen?
But you've also got to figure out that when a program's giving out their GTAs, they want to give it to, this is a highly sought after assistantship, they want to give it to someone within their program. And I have not had, since I've been here, a program to say I will take a GTA from somebody else because I don't have a qualified student within my program.
So it usually just doesn't happen.
It usually does not happen.
Okay.
I would say no on that. Now, I want to get to something that Iman mentioned. She has a graduate research fellowship. We have those from time to time. Iman was lucky enough and also fit the bill for the GRF for her program. Her program was also one of the ones that just jumped on the research fellowship, and that is a possibility for any program. We don't have them as program specific the way that we do for the GAs and GTAs. So the program has to come in and say, this is the research we're going to be doing, and this is why we want a research fellow. So, Andrea, for your instance, you're in STEL. If they want to do a research fellowship within STEL, then that's possible. But it's also a competitive thing between the programs of, it's not a first come, first serve kind of thing. It's we kind of rank those within the graduate department or graduate college to see. There have been GRFs in the past with education, so that's a possibility as well. We currently, I don't know how many of those we still have left for fall, though. That's the only hitch in that one for the coming year. And it's, to answer your other question, Andrea, it's not because special education doesn't have a GTA, it's because the other programs would not give up their GTA for someone outside of their program. It's not because they don't have GTA.
Okay, cool. We're trying to wrap up at noon, so I want to run through a couple of remaining issues that probably we need to get to. If anyone has any final questions, you want to go ahead and add those to our chat. We were just talking about health insurance and health record forms that students might need. Teresa, can you kind of run through that a little quickly?
Absolutely. So health insurance is required at Radford, and you would find that at most schools in the U.S. Because you may already know our health care is very expensive and it's operated very differently than in a lot of other countries. There are in the pre-arrival information that you will receive upon your admission, which is created through our office. That pre-arrival information will give you specifications about the health insurance requirements. So we do have one health insurance agency that we operate through for international student insurance, but you're not required to purchase that one. If you find another health insurance provider that meets the specifications that we outline in that pre-arrival information, you can certainly purchase that insurance and file a waiver to ours. What I would suggest is if you're looking at insurance companies, you might want to send it to me by email so I can assure you that it meets our specifications before you make that purchase. But health insurance is definitely a requirement. If students do not have health insurance within the first 2 weeks at Radford, we will enroll you in the health insurance provider that we have. You'll also see with your admissions documents a health record form that is required by our university student health center. So you have a health center here on campus that can provide medications and care for you as well. There is a form that's required for that that you must do with your physician, who must also sign that health record form showing your immunizations. On that form, there's a list of required immunizations that you must have, and there's also a list of recommended. So you'll see that with your admissions package. The health insurance, I see a question there. For health insurance currently with our CISI provider, it is $646.20 per semester.
Which actually is not bad. Compared to what Americans pay monthly for insurance, that's really not bad at all.
Exactly.
Might sound like a lot, but it's really not bad. I want to throw out some information really quick before we go about housing, because I know with graduate students, housing is a very important issue. At Radford University, we do not have separate housing on campus for graduate students. You can apply if you are a single person to live on campus, but you would be mixed in with the undergraduate population. Instead, most of our grad students tend to live off campus, and Radford is fortunate to have a number of apartment and rental opportunities, in particular in the Radford University area. If you're interested in looking at housing around Radford University in apartments or townhouses or even trying to rent a home, I suggest you Google Radford, Virginia, and then apartments or rental homes or whatever, and you will see the range of opportunities. Rent actually is very affordable in Radford right now, I think, and we've never really had a student not be able to find a place that they could afford in Radford. So if you have any questions, you still can always email me if you need any specific information. Teresa, do we ever have students who they want to come in but they have to work with a spouse? Do you all ever do any spousal accommodations, or how do you work with students who want to bring their spouse to the United States as well?
We do have occasionally students who are married and bring their spouse or even their spouse and children. There, with the application form for graduate admission, there is also a supplemental international form where you would list the names of your spouse and or children that are traveling with you. When the I-20 would be issued for you, it would also create I-20s for your dependents, and they could come in then on an F2 visa, so it's a dependent visa. They would not be allowed to work in the U.S. or anything of that nature, but could certainly be here to live with you. We do, try to get spouses involved if they're able to do so. We'd certainly love to have them involved in activities throughout the campus as well. We welcome.
And one last question for Teresa. Let's say I'm applied and I'm accepted at Radford University as a graduate student in one program, but then I take some courses and I think, ooh, this is not the right program for me. If I need to change programs, does that cause any issues? Because ordinarily with graduate students, you have to reapply altogether to get into a new program. You can't just transfer from one to another. So does that cause problems for international students with regard to your status at all?
Honestly, I have not come across a situation where that's happened here. For undergraduate level, they can certainly change majors and often do, and that's a fairly simple immigration process. At the graduate level, as you said, because you would have to reapply for a new program and be admitted to that program, chances are you'd probably have to perhaps take a semester away to depart the country and come back in on a new I-20 for that new program.
So probably the advice is, whatever program you're going to apply for, make sure that's the one you really want,
right?
Because you'll be adding complications to yourself. Well, we are almost to 12 o'clock noon here Eastern Standard Time, and so I'm going to wrap up with some final information. Make sure, if you'd like to get in contact with either myself or Michelle or Teresa, our email addresses are below. For Teresa King, she can handle any questions about being an international student, the documentation, the visa process. Her email is tking54@radford.edu, and Michelle can answer any questions about the graduate assistantship program, how to apply, which ones might you be a good fit for, and her email is mralston2 radford.edu. You can find out any information about our graduate programs by going to our main webpage, radford.edu. If you'd like information about our graduate college admissions, once again below we bit.ly that link, and so you can copy it down. If you'd like to go directly to the webpage for the International Education Center's Prospective International student page, that link is below as well. I'd like to thank all of our participants, Andrea, Marie-Lee, Shen, and I hope I pronounced your name properly, Vasiliki. He's probably sitting there going, yeah, but I hope I pronounced your name properly. Thank you so much for participating with us today. This session has been recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel this afternoon. Please share the link with whomever you feel might be interested. And once again, I thank everybody. I thank our presenters, Teresa King, Michelle Ralston, and especially Imana Mir, our model graduate student. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you, and shout out to you, Marie-Lise. Sorry, I know her, so I have to say hello.
Oh, hey, I hope I pronounced your name properly, Marie-Lise. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
Have a good day.
Take care. Thanks for being with us. Pleasure to meet you all.